today is talk to you a little bit about the innovations involved in pest and disease control. Two talks before lunch, large, well-funded labs, so with perhaps some trepidation, which bringing back to the completely other end of the spectrum to a small but hopefully growing Dundee-based SME and some of the challenges that we've faced. I want to outline some of our product and technology development. I purposely left out most of the technical data, and I apologise for all those of you who maybe wanted to see lots of graphs, but there are very few graphs. Because I wanted to give you an overview of the innovations involved for an SME from all the way from product conception all the way through to marketing and sales. So hopefully it won't come out as too much of a sales pitch, but if it does, you can at least perhaps enjoy the pictures. The challenge facing us all at the minute is pest and diseases affect all of our lives and responsible for substantial losses in food production, human and animal health, and also in what I'm calling the quality of life down the bottom here. Michael, coming after me, will be talking a lot more about food production, so I've taken the liberty to concentrate on other areas of pest control that we're involved with. A number of challenges are facing the pest and disease control industry. Part of these is responsible for increasing resistance of pests and diseases to the chemical products which are currently used. Also changes in legislation. In the EU we're facing all kinds of new directives. In my own field we have Biocidal Products Directive, which is a complete nightmare if you now want to sell. Even something like citronella to repel mosquitoes is now banned because it's not on Annex 1 of the directive. And an increasing consumer need for chemical-free solutions. You walk into Tesco's down the road and there's a growing aisle of organic products. But at the same time that people are wanting greener products, they're also becoming far less tolerant of anything less than the perfect black potatoes or the perfect cauliflower and the perfect cabbage. So there's a huge challenge to the industry to produce high-quality produce with new, innovative and sustainable solutions. The challenge to an SME is getting into this market is to develop innovative solutions in the face of obvious considerable competition from the large companies who can do things a lot more quickly. They've got more resources, more staff, they've got huge budgeting and marketing budgets. SMEs are usually a couple of people, we have 5 staff, doing everything from keeping the finances to doing R&D to actually going out and selling products. So I want to just highlight some of the challenges to an SME in innovating new products in this area. Advanced Pest Solutions at APS, just want to outline what we do a little bit. We are an innovative fire control company developing both technologies and solutions for the industry. I founded the company in 2004, so we've been trading now for this is our 8th year. We're a small team of 5 staff comprising molecular microbiologists, entomologists, ecologists. So we can tackle a whole range of subjects with a whole range of different approaches. We have some very close working relationships with our industry partners, which allows us to develop our technologies very close to market, so where there is a need, and we can develop a solution. Funding comes through a mixture of equity finance, a strong revenue stream of our own, and also a lot of grant funding too. The key to our success for APS, and this doesn't work for a lot of companies, is a diversity in our technology development and our market application. We're involved in a lot of different market sectors, developing a number of different technologies. To summarise what we do, and this is my quandary about what to speak about today, and even yesterday afternoon I was sitting thinking, what was I going to talk about? We have a core technology developing a novel antimicrobial chemicals in the fresh produce industry. We have a commercially available food processing aid, which we're using in the potato industry and the salad industry at the moment. Did a bit about talking about that, but our chair here knows far more about the target bugs than I do, so I thought I would avoid talking about potato rots today. We do quite a lot of hands-on pest management programs, working from anything from mosquitoes in South America to midges in Scotland. And also we develop what we call insect modifying technologies. How can we change insect behaviour to affect control? And this is really the area that I want to concentrate on today. We work on a range of insects, and you will be familiar with some of these. Ticks, quite big in the news at the minute from the threat of Lyme disease to ourselves and also our animals. Mosquitoes, and our favourite, the Scottish biting midge. And those of you who know me will probably know that I've worked on midges in Scotland for about 25 years, so it was kind of difficult for me to speak about anything else but my favourite bug. Insects have been in the news recently. This was only last week. Radio 4 phoned me up late one night and said, you have to come on the Today call, whatever programme it was, because Beijing has got this directive out now. You can only have 2 flies in a public toilet. So we can tell us, come and tell us what to do about them. As far as I know, toilets in Beijing have far more problems than flies, so I'm not quite sure how they're going to achieve that. Closer to home, this is a water treatment plant that we worked in ourselves before in Bournemouth, and only last week the local postman refused to deliver mail to a particular street because the fly problem from the water treatment plant was so bad that he couldn't walk down the street without getting his eye and his mouth full of flies and his little postie van covered as well. And for those of you who are aware of the farming news, Schmallenberg virus is a disease of livestock, sheep and cattle, which this year has appeared in the south of England and Channel Islands, and it's thought to be transmitted by biting midges, which were blown over from the continent last year. And similarly, a disease called blue tongue virus, which is midge transmitted, also arrived in the UK in 2008, and it's a huge threat to the industry. And we worked for 2.5 years with the Scottish Government mapping midge populations across farms in Scotland so they could determine the threat to different areas from this disease. So there's always insects in the news, and it's a really great topic to work on. How do we control insects? There are a number of approaches. Habitat management is one of the easiest. This is just a mucky pool, but it's a silage tank which is leaking, and it's a key area for biting midges to breed in farms. So from the point of view of blue tongue virus control, we could say, great, go into your farm, clean it up, and identify key areas. Traps, all kinds of traps people use these days to control insects, be they UV traps in the butcher shop or these big CO2 pumping out gas-powered traps that you see up in Scotland. The best trap, however, is always to sit outside and see how many midges you can collect yourself. Insecticides, lots available on the market, although a number of these are being withdrawn from the market due to new legislation in the EU at the minute. Not so elsewhere in the world. A friend of mine was in Nigeria last week, and they emailed me back a photograph of a bottle of Doom they'd been given to kill off the cockroaches in their bedroom. I don't think he used it because I think he was concerned that perhaps he wouldn't wake up himself the next morning. And of course repellents. Most of you probably have been out in Scotland in the summertime and met the dreaded midge, and a good midge repellent is something that you must always have in your rucksack. And this is really what I want to speak about today, and one of our own repellent technology developments.
They are small and persistent, and anyone who encounters them runs the risk of succumbing to a deadly disease from their bite. We're talking about insects, the carriers of diseases such as malaria, dengue fever, and yellow fever, to name but a few. That's why insect repellents have become increasingly important. Dangerous insects and pathogens previously limited to tropical climes are beginning to spread into other regions, helped on their way by climate change, globalization, and an increasingly mobile global population. And the problem is only getting bigger.
Okay, so just an introduction about the use of repellents and the spread of diseases. One of the biggest threats to us is people moving around, basically. We get more and more reports of malaria in the UK, particularly centred around airports. We go back to the example of virus, which I mentioned, which affects livestock, came to the UK a couple of years ago. It was probably brought by a batch of midges imported the virus into Central Europe, at least, imported cut flowers from Africa. So man's own increased travelling around is creating a whole load more problems for us in terms of insect-transmitted disease. Options for repellents are getting less and less. We typically classify them as natural repellent. Natural repellents are anything from sitting around a campfire using the smoke to deter the insects, to various essential oils, going out and crushing leaves of bog myrtle and rubbing them on your forehead, etc. These usually only have very short activity and becoming increasingly difficult to use due to the fact that the actives are not registered with the EU. There are in fact only 4 repellent actives which can be legally used in the EU. 3 of these are synthetic. DEET, which everybody really wants to avoid, quite high absorption to the skin, people don't like putting it on children, can't be used by pregnant women, etc. Melts plastic. Anyone who goes fishing will probably have their fishing rod dissolved away by if they've got DEET on their hands. 2 new synthetics, picaridin, which is also called Sortidin, which is a Bayer product, and IR3535, which is an alert product. And then we have a derivative of oil lemon eucalyptus, which is the only natural repellent which can legally be sold in products like Mozzigal. And the product that we use is picaridin and Sortidin, and I want to just talk you through this and the advantages of the product and how we've managed to formulate it into something novel. Insect repellents work in a number of ways, but basically they confuse the insects so they can't find you. Insects smell the ground tenny in their mouth parts. It first detects CO2, a major mosquito can detect a change in CO2 level of 0.02% in the atmosphere. So basically, if you're 200 metres away from a mosquito and breathing, it will probably find you. What repellents tend to do is to block these odour receptors so the insects won't find you. If they do find you, they make an unpleasant taste so they won't bite you.
Insects find their blood host by following exhaled carbon dioxide and by recognizing specific scent patterns. Applying a repellent such as Sortidin changes this specific scent pattern so drastically that the hematophagous, blood-sucking insects can no longer identify the potential blood host. Insects will continue to avoid treated areas of skin for as long as this protective layer remains intact.
Okay. Loads of repellents on the market, and they all work in different ways. So why are we wanting to develop a different technology? It's all about our friend the Scottish biting midge. Midge is deemed to be the fiercest biting insect in the world, and if you can control the midge in Scotland, you can normally control any biting insect anywhere in the world. People often poke fun at midges, particularly the press, but they actually can have a quite significant impact on people's health, enjoyment. This is bottom right is a poor Dutch lady we met on a campsite last year who was terrified of these huge big insects she'd met for the first time. And also outdoor industries, and the Forestry Commission estimate that they lose 1 in 5 days, so 20% of their working time in the summertime because they can't work. And there are also various figures banded around for the loss of income to the tourism industry, which is pretty difficult to quantify. But the majority of tourists who visit the Highlands, particularly if they come from outside the UK, will usually go home with some kind of midge horror story. We wanted a repellent that was specifically designed for midges in Scotland, that would be effective, safe, so we didn't want a DEET-based product, but also to have a competitive edge over other products. survive in a very big market as a small company. We looked at all the products in the market. Hopefully there's nobody here from Boots or anywhere. And they're all pretty boring, lots of crossed out flies and things. Some look quite kind of herbally and some look quite medically orientated. And nothing really made me want to go and pick one off the shelf and buy one. What we wanted was a new brand for Scotland which highlighted the fun outdoory things that people do in Scotland and the kind of gritty nature of the people who obviously get involved with it. Yet we wanted something nice and family safe as well. So, January 2010, we sat down and said, let's put together our own repellent brand. And so Smidge was born. We worked very hard over 3 months, and on the middle of April that year, we launched the product with a new formulation of Solidin, the Bayer Repellent Active. As you can see, it looks a bit different, it's fun, it's a bit quirky, it looks like it's been smeared with mud, and it's got kind of a bit of fun associated with it. But most importantly, it's got 8 hours protection, and it's in a nice moisturising and importantly waterproof formulation. So we've worked with a French company to add a waterproof base to the product. So if you're out and about involved with hot sweaty activities, your repellent will actually last a little bit longer than your bog standard repellent. Solidin is the main active, 20% solution. It's promoted as a safe, reliable repellent active. It feels very nice, it's not sticky, unlike deep-based products. It smells nice, and it's recommended by the WHO and also the EPA in the US. And as I said, it's one of only 4 repellent actives which can be legally used in the EU. Just a summary of its main properties, which we liked when we decided to use it. Long-lasting efficiency, broad spectrum of insects, midges, mosquitoes, ticks. I saw new data last week which suggested 14 hours control against ticks, sandflies, horseflies, etc. Safe and very, very low absorption levels through the skin and toxicity levels, and pleasant feel to the skin, etc.
But how long do the various repellents last?
This is how it
Cage tests are a low-cost and efficient means of assessing the efficacy of Solidin. The test involves filling a test cage with at least 250 female mosquitoes. If the tester places his or her arm in the cage, he or she will be immediately identified as a blood host. Solidin is applied to the tester's forearm. All there is to do now is wait. The mosquitoes briefly land on the treated skin, only to fly off again without trying to feed. The number of bites is counted at predetermined intervals. The results are as follows. 20% Solidin formulations protect the user for up to 14 hours, which is a major advantage over other products.
We do lots of repellent testing in the lab along the road, so we're always looking for volunteers. So we pay well, if anyone would like to lend an arm. It's important to generate good lab data, but also field data. This is just some comparative lab data of the active Solidin against DEET, which is what everyone wants to compare against. And basically, for a whole range of mosquito species, here, midges and ticks, the Solidin active comes out higher than DEET, with a longer level of activity, which is important because you don't want to keep having to reapply your product every few hours. So Smidge is promoted as a reliable, powerful repellent. Smells great, it's waterproof. You can use it on children from 2 years of age, pregnant women as well. And most importantly for us, it's been scientifically proved in Scotland, which is the key for really pushing a product here. Lab data for Smidge is very much similar to the Solidin active, and these are some of our arms in here, and we've got over 8 hours protection for a range of species. Anopheles stevensii, which is one of the main malaria vectors, Culicodes tuberculosis, which is one of the farm-related midge species, one of the potential vectors of Schmallenberg and Bluetooth virus, Aegypti, which is our lab model, which is the biggest mosquito out, and we use it as our kind of gold standard for lab tests. Field data is far more important really, because in a cage test, mosquitoes got to go somewhere and they may well land on you. So we always field test our products. It's a bit too bright in here, but if you look on the right-hand picture, the top arm has smidge on it, and the bottom arm has had nothing. And this poor person is from a German company who provided the active, who wanted to come out and test the product, and he's not been back since. So, we've got an innovative product. We've taken an active which we knew and a good activity profile. It's nice and safe, and we put it into a waterproof formulation, so we've got a slight competitive edge over our competitors, and we've designed a kind of snazzy bottle that looks good on the shelf. What we needed to do when we launched it, we had a very small budget, so how were we going to promote it? We did all the normal things that everyone else does. Promotions. This is an Anti-Bite World Cup last year, which we sponsored. I had the pleasure of rubbing smidge all over people's legs up at the Monster Challenge, Block Lomond, outdoor shows, trade shows, etc. Things that everyone does. We do lots of social media work, Facebook, Twitter, etc. More and more companies are getting into these things now. If anyone was watching Spring Watch on BBC last night, Chris Packham and his pals were getting really badly bitten by midges. And not myself, but someone else from APS who will remain named as having a Twitter war with Avon Skinsoft over smidge versus Avon, trying to get the BBC to use it. So, but it's a good way of getting information out very cheaply. But our main innovation is our online midge forecast. This is a predictive web-based system, which is based on some a number of set of algorithms which we use to predict on a daily basis midge activity from 1 up to 5 for people out and about in Scotland. Hugely used by tourists and visitors to Scotland. We have about 75,000 hits over the kind of 3 months over the summertime. And it also comes with an iPhone app, and people can use it when they're out and about. And this has been the main way that we've been able to promote the product relatively cheaply, relatively easily. We can get new customers through it. We can get people to go away and say, have you used the midge forecast, and look, there's that midge product as well. Forecast is based on a set of models which have been generated from a number of years of daily midge catch data and weather data. And what we do is collect the data, we've created our models, and then we buy in weather forecast data, and every day, 6 o'clock every morning, we press a button, or I don't, someone does, and we generate our output, which is every town in Scotland has a midge forecast from 1 to 7. We also, as well as doing the mathematical predictions, we split Scotland up, and we have a number of volunteers that all have a midge trap, and every week they weigh their catch and feed it back. This is our chap in Argyll who left his midge trap catch out 2 days ago in his greenhouse, and it's gone into this sort of solidified mess. So this data allows us to monitor our forecast output and adjust it accordingly. So, we've got the product, we decided how we're going to market it, and just a couple of slides to show what we're doing sales-wise. We have our normal set of retailers that we sell online on our own site, also through Amazon and through events. We've got about 380 smidge retailers across the UK and Ireland at the minute. And week before last, we launched into Tesco, so there's 46 Tesco stores in Scotland at the minute who have all got one of these little display units full of smidge bottles. Just to finish off, sales time has been quite good. We're looking to double our targets this year from last year. Got about 400 trade outlets, active social media outlets. We've got trials ongoing in Scandinavia. One of the big mining companies in Australia is currently using the product and digging a tunnel somewhere. And last week I was in Bali launching the product into Asia. We run the Nexus Easter last year, which we were very grateful for, if Graham is still here. And we've fast become the best-selling palette in Scotland, particularly the likes of the outdoor shops such as Tezos, who are pushing all their nasty Avon skin soft to one side and replacing it with ours. And finally, we've got a new contract this year with Tesco, which is working out really well and is great for spreading the name of the brand a little bit. So I think my time has run out, so I say thank you and apologies not about crop protection, but next time.
Thank you very much. Now, I forgot completely what I was going to say at the start of my chairmanship, so I'm going to ask the first question before I forget that as well. Could you say something about how important you think your forecasting is and your advertising on the forecasting side in terms of your sales? Do you think they're inextricably linked?
Well, forecast is important from 2 points of view. Firstly, it originally was produced as an academic bit of work, and then it became an information service, which is, I think, providing a genuine service, and people do use it. We've taken advantage of it and turned it into a marketing tool, and yes, I think it has been very important because it's given us that slight advantage over a lot of other people, and it's also something which is it's a genuine application. It's not us looking out the window and saying, "Oh, it's cloudy today. There's going to be lots of images." You know, you can hand on heart. It's based on. I know I have personally kept all that image data, which is created those models, so we have some faith in it. So and it's kind of integral to the product development, and also getting the name of the company out as well, because as Ian, you know, we do lots of other work in the company. We do all our kind of agricultural control, etc. And potatoes aren't very sexy, but if you talk about the company who are doing the ridge forecast, also looking at potato control, people perhaps get a little bit more excited.
Okay, thanks. Any more questions, please?
Alison, what about skins so soft?
Oh, rubbish.
But does smidge make your skin smooth and soft?
It does. It's formulated by one of the best French cosmetic houses, and it's moisturising, and it actually has a repellent in it, like a nasty greasy mess. It makes you smell like a granny.
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay.
Have you considered giving it to HMS Condor? Because I know the Marines apparently use skins to stuff.
They do, and that's, the good thing about Avon, they're a great example of marketing a product, because saying that the Marines use it has done more for their sales than anything else. So perhaps, yes, we should send them a few credits.
Any more before we move on?
I wondered whether there's an impact if biting insects are actually carrying a disease. Does that influence or change their biting patterns, and how effective the repellent might be?
We don't know. It's a simple answer. I suspect not, because it depends on the disease is carried. If it's just mechanically carried, so insect bites an infected man or person or animal, picks up the disease on the mouth parts, goes transmits it. No. Lots of